What's up, guys? Today we are actually pulling the motor in the Civic. Alright, so in order to pull this out, the first thing that we have to do is get all of the turbo kit stuff disconnected. So we're going to be undoing all of these intake pipes. We're going to undo, obviously, the turbo manifold, and the turbo and the downpipe are all going to come out. We also have to undo the AC and the power steering and all that stuff. Right now we're just working on the turbo stuff. We got to take the bumper off first. He's disconnecting the battery right now. And let's get started.
I can't wait to leave this town, 'cause lately I've been feeling down. The cold nights just don't feel the same. Oh, like my life inside a car. Hit the button, drive real far. But that record on me die. I'm dreaming of you. I dream of a new life. Fights in the dark till we see the sunlight. My love, it's you and I.
Alright, so we got the turbo kit out, as you can see right there. So all that's out. Now I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do next. Probably undo the power steering and AC and the alternator. I think that's probably a good place to start. Got to unbolt the throttle cable, unbolt the fuel line there, undo the starter. We still got we got to drain the coolant, drain the trans fluid, pull the axles still, drain the oil. Oh, that's what I'll do next. So
yeah, we'll do that.
So next, I'll do the axles. All right, so I got a little bit of time today to do a little bit more work on this. We are going to lift the car up and take out the axles and undo the shift linkage. We're also going to drain the fluids. Now, to pull a motor, you don't actually have to drain the oil. You do have to drain the trans fluid because you're taking the axles out. You can technically leave the oil in, but I'm rebuilding this motor, so I'm just going to go ahead and drain the oil too while I'm draining the trans fluid, get both of those knocked out. And then we'll pull the axles. We do have to undo the suspension forks to get the axles out, and then undo the axle nut, which is behind the center cap. And we're going to put all that back together when we're all done so that this can still be a rolling shell. But first, before I even do that, I got to hook the battery back up because I have to air out the front. Because if you undo the forks, then you get all the pressure in the bags, and it's just no good. You're technically supposed to air out anytime you lift your car up. So air out the front, pull out the axles, undo the shift linkage, then we got to put pressure back in the front, put the wheels back on, all that stuff.
So reach for the stars, 'cause we're aiming high.
Alright, now it might look the exact same as before I started, but the axles are out now, and the shift linkage is undone from the transmission, so that's one step closer. Next time I work on this, I'm going to probably pull off the power steering pump and the AC compressor. I got to undo all the belts, disconnect the alternator, disconnect the starter, and at that point I'm probably just going to start pulling apart everything I see. What's up, guys? We are back for another day. And no, this is not my motor behind me, but this is a different motor that I bought to put into this car in the meantime while I build the other one. Just because I do not want to be down without a car. Car season is starting right now, and I want to be able to go to shows and all that other kind of stuff. So I just happened to pick this motor up. This just has my turbo stuff bolted onto it because I had to bolt this on and grind down some of the blocks so that the turbo would fit, just like I had to last time. This is a D16 Z6. Like a factory Z6 head, Z6 block. I picked it up for 150 bucks. It doesn't have a manifold on it, but I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the intake manifold off that motor. And this thing has seen some better days, but it was the best I could get in this short amount of time. This thing has been dropped quite a few times. There's some chunks taken out of it. This bolt hole is completely stripped. You can take and turn it. and that is stripped in the valve train, so nothing I can do about that besides replace the valve train. This oil pan is pretty toast, but I'm going to be swapping out the one from that one because it does have the oil train on it. And when I did pull the oil pan off, there were a little tiny bit of like metal threads in the oil pickup, like from a hole that was stripped out or something, and then there was a lot of RTV chunks in the oil pan as well. So I did wiggle all of the rods, and none of them really seem to have play. So I think this motor should be maybe okay. As long as it lasts me about 2 months, I don't care, and then I'll either sell it or build this one too. But we need to get back to pulling this motor out. So the next thing that we have here is just all the accessory stuff. So power steering and the air conditioning. I believe we can just leave the alternator belt on, and the alternator, that should be fine. So I'm going to undo the power steering belt and the air conditioning belt, pull the power steering pump over here, and hopefully pull up the AC compressor, get it out of the way without having to disconnect the line.
You can't wait to see me now, 'cause lately you've been feeling down. You lay awake alone at night. Oh, like your life inside a car. Forget the world and drive real far. Put that record on again. Oh, my love is you and I.
Alright, so as you can see, we got all this stuff out of the way now. Here's the AC compressor. There is a power steering pump right there. So the next thing that we got to do is go ahead and undo these coolant lines. So I'm going to lift the car back up and drain the coolant from the radiator, and then start disconnecting the lines. Alright, so I got the engine harness out of the cabin here, just pulled it out from underneath the battery and unplugged it from the ECU. Super easy to do. The next thing that we got to do is take off this cable from the starter and disconnect the fuel lines. There's probably a few odds and ends that I'm going to grab too as I notice them, and then we're going to try to drop the motor down. Alright, so we are at the big moment now. The only thing holding this engine in is this bar. So, got all the motor mounts undone. I got the cart underneath there, just a 4-wheel dolly. And we're going to go ahead and lift the car up, let this off, and let the engine drop down while we lift the body of the car up with the hoist. Alright, so that's it. Engine's out. And we're going to pick back up on this in a couple days. Alright guys, that is going to be it for this video. Make sure that if you liked it, you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Stay tuned for the next video where we put the engine in the car. Thank you for watching. Peace out.